everybody, I'm Lara Trump coming to you from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. Anti-Semitism is clearly on the rise, with another violent attack on an American synagogue and growing tolerance for religious bigotry from the left. Joining me to discuss the rise in anti-Semitism is a businessman and a member of the Trump 2020 Advisory Board, Jason Meister. Jason, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
All right, so usually we're talking to you about business, about finance, about the economy. This is a much more serious situation, and sadly, we do want to talk about it because we're seeing some really scary things happen in this country. There's really a dangerous rise in anti-Semitism, especially when you think about the fact that we just had another attack on a synagogue in this country. What are your thoughts on things?
Laura, it's terrible. I mean, anti-Semitism has been going on throughout history. But it really has been on the rise. And I think what you have to go back to the beginning of where it kind of went on the rise. Under the President Obama, he had called for the return to the 1967 armistice lines. That was really an annihilation of the Jews in Israel. And you had the Iran nuclear deal, which was $150 billion to Iran, its mullahs. You had him in the last stages of his presidency giving $221 million to the Palestinian Authority. His rhetoric was virulent, and that's really what allowed for this anti-Semitism to grow in this country, where to now you have a congresswoman, Ilhan Omar, who's making anti-Semitic tropes all over the place. And it's really what happened is anti-Semitism has found a home. It was in the far left, but now it's in the mainstream left. And the Jewish American people have to recognize this because they do overwhelmingly vote for Democrats. Right. And I think you're going to start to see a rightward turn towards a Pence in 2020 for the Jewish people.
Well, and especially, by the way, after everything that we've seen this president and his administration do.
Amazing.
When you look at Israel, when you look at moving the embassy finally to Jerusalem, when you look at recognizing the Golan Heights as part of Israel, these are things that really have meant, I think, so much to Jewish Americans as a whole, certainly to people that everyone in Israel. But sadly, we still see bad stuff happening here. We still see anti-Semitism in our country, to your point about the congresswoman. Now, after this horrific attack, Rabbi Goldstein of the congregation Chabad in California actually had some really nice words to say about the president.
I'd like to thank our dear, honorable Mr. President for being, as they say in Yiddish, a mensch par excellence. Mr. President, when you called me, I was at home weeping. You were the first person who began my healing. You heal people in their worst of times, and I'm so grateful for that.
So beautiful. That's so beautiful. Thank you.
All right, Jason, what was your reaction to that? It's really powerful.
It was very powerful, and it's very touching. As you pointed out, this is the greatest president to the Jewish people and to the people of Israel. And this rabbi is recognizing that. And it's really important for the Jewish people to see what's happening in this country and how the president is protecting the Israeli people and the Jewish people. And so it was touching to see the rabbi give that speech.
Really nice. And for the president to maybe get a little bit of credit, because we know when it comes to the mainstream media, they never give him credit. In fact, on the same day that this horrific attack happened, the failing New York Times published a cartoon that was incredibly anti-Semitic. Tell us a little bit about the cartoon. What happened with that?
So you have this cartoon gets published in the New York Times. It's a picture of Benjamin Netanyahu as a dog leading President Trump, a blind President Trump with a yarmulke. Just one of the most anti-Semitic images I could ever imagine.
Netanyahu's on a leash.
And a leash. And the idea of this happening in 2019 in America is just unbelievable. And then after that happens, they don't even come out and apologize right away. And then another cartoon pops up that's anti-Semitic with Netanyahu in it. So this is not just an exception. This is really happening across all media and the New York Times and the left, and it's a real problem in this country.
It is a real problem, and you actually wrote an op-ed specifically about this. Anti-Semitism showcased by the New York Times as part of a bigger problem. That's what you said, and tell us a little bit about your op-ed.
Right, so what's happening is that they're basically disguising anti-Semitism with anti-Israel. So it's because this president is pro-Israeli, they're attacking the president, they're attacking the Jewish people. I would say that a lot of the tropes that I'm hearing on the left, it's really almost too sanitized a word to say it's anti-Semitic. It's really Jew hatred.
Wow.
And Israel hatred. And they're disguising their Jew hatred with Israel hatred. There's no distinction. It's a false distinction, and we need to call things out for what they are. That is why the ISIS caliphate has fallen under President Trump, because he was very clear. He's very clear on his words, and words matter in this country.
Yeah.
And he was very clear about radical Islam and how much of a threat it was. And that is why ISIS has fallen, because the president is clear with his words.
Yeah, but I just want to go back, because your point is actually great, that they're anti-Israel, but Israel is one of our greatest allies. Israel, wouldn't we all want to champion Israel as an American people? I just can't get behind the idea that anybody could think it's positive or somehow good for our country or good for the world to do anything other than be the ally with Israel that we've always been. It's sort of crazy to me.
It is crazy, Laura, but what it is it really goes back to this identity politics that you see on the left today. And the anti-Israel, it's not just anti-Israel, it's also anti-Christian, like we saw with other attacks against Christians recently. And so it's this anti-Christian, anti-Jewish sort of thing that's happening, and it's really a problem, and the president is coming out against it, and it's very important.
And actually, the president's support of Israel is more important than ever. Now that we see Hamas launching rockets into Israel just last week, what are your thoughts on the way he's handled things on that front? He really has been, as you say, his words have been very clear, I think, as to his expectation over there in the Middle East and who, what should really happen over there.
Look, he has been the most pro-Israeli, pro-Jewish president in history, not even just in modern history, but in history. Moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, the eternal capital of Israel, recognizing the Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights after 52 years.
Yeah.
These are things that no president has done, because this is real leadership. This is a president that stands behind what he says, and he follows through with his promises.
Yeah, and I think the good news is that no matter what happens, he's got such a great relationship with Netanyahu. They seem to get along very well. I think they understand each other as world leaders, and I think they can rest assured that they have the support of our country, of our president, that we are willing to do anything we can to support them. And it's a two-way street. We know that the feelings are mutual. And one place that I haven't been, can you believe it? I've never been to Israel, but I'm dying to go. I hear they're big Trump supporters over there.
That's what I hear too. I think they're really, really big Trump supporters.
Yeah.
So you should definitely get there.
It's on the agenda. After a baby, I'm going to get over there. Jason, thank you so much. I know that there's so much more to come in this. Hopefully we can see an end to this religious bigotry on all fronts from the Democrats specifically. But thank you for your thoughts today.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
Anti-Semitism is clearly on the rise. While the left tolerates religious bigotry in many forms, President Trump is standing up for the rights and security of all people of faith. That's the real news for today. I'm Lara Trump from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. Thanks for joining us, everybody.